I am recording as well.
It's recording.
Awesome. So welcome everybody to our amazing breakout session on Faculty Voices on Accessibility. Today we have Baiyun Chen from UCF and Katherine Springer from Johns Hopkins University. And this is a collaborative multi-institutional study of STEM teaching practices. So it is with a very excited demeanor that I welcome you two to present. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take it away.
I feel like you covered our intro, Charlotte. I don't have much more to add to that. I'll say specifically, because it relates to the survey that we did, I'm an instructional designer in the Whiting School of Engineering at Hopkins. So the faculty that I work with are all engineering and STEM related. It will actually, okay, here we go. So we thought we'd go ahead and start off. We have a few polls, and this is really just open forum, answer in chat. But we thought we'd start off by asking, what disciplines do you support? Do you focus on STEM faculty, completely different field? Feel free to answer in the chat. I have it pulled up so I can actually see responses. And Baiyun and I aren't the only ones behind this survey study. So we do want to acknowledge the work and collaboration of Jeffrey Kwan from The Ohio State University, Rosalind Miller from UCF, and then from Hopkins, Melissa Rizzuto and Sarah Schunkweiler.
So Katie, it looks like we have a couple of chats here. So people are coming from all different disciplines, not specifically for STEM.
Nice. And then this was mentioned in the earlier session, but just as a kind of pulse check here, how prepared do you feel your institution is for that April, I think 24th, ADA Title II deadline? Making progress, but more to do. Yeah. There's positivity, but there's always room for growth. And that really leads me into just talking about the general ADA landscape. So we wanted to provide background for our research. We know that over 4 million students at US institutions have a disability, and that number is deceptive because they may not disclose. Many students certainly feel fear, judgment, or stigma, and accommodation processes, as we know, can be complex. So many students may navigate college without formal support. And just understanding that landscape of faculty accessibility practices is particularly pressing because of that Title II deadline that we just mentioned for course materials in public universities. And as the creators and managers of that content, faculty really are the front line. And STEM content in particular has definite accessibility challenges. So I did want to cover this. Hopefully you'll see echoed in some of our results as well. But the National Disability Center for Student Success recently published their national report on faculty accessibility practices. And their main findings were that time constraints are a key factor limiting faculty seeking out training, that faculty fear being barriers to student success, kind of not being proactive enough in encouraging students to use the available support, that they prefer collaboration over an enforcement approach. So a partnership approach to accessibility with solutions that are co-designed with students, and that faculty disability status increases their personal confidence level, but not the institutional support that's available to them. And lastly, that many faculty end up learning accessibility strategies on their own through trial and error or self-directed learning. Okay. So just to kind of give you brief demographics and profiles of our respondents, we collected responses from last October through January of this year from 112 STEM faculty and TAs from Hopkins and UCF in STEM fields ranging from engineering to biology, chemistry, computer science. And in terms of representative samples, we had roughly equal identifying male and female, 3% identified as non-binary, and 60% white, 18% Asian. 20% of faculty were tenured, then we had about 40% teaching faculty, and then balancing it out again, 21% or so were TAs. And respondent experience was fairly evenly spread from, we had categories of 0 to 3, all the way to over 16, and then they represented diverse class sizes, although the majority of faculty had fewer than 50 students enrolled in their courses. So before we actually dive into more detailed results, I want to cover our summary. We found over 80% of respondents do agree that accessible content benefits all students. So there's faculty buy-in for these accessible practices. However, 54% of faculty are kind of stuck at the beginning of the implementation phase. Some of their material is accessible, but they know it needs more work, and their confidence in making materials accessible is critically low. And finally, their number one request is human support, specifically in the form of dedicated accessibility support staff and resources like knowledge bases and examples for the content they need to create. So I'll pass it over to Baiyun to begin discussing those results.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you for setting up the context of the survey research. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the detailed results. So first of all, this survey instrument, we have created this survey ourselves. So we included 11 accessibility question groups of 4 different constructs. So they are perceptions, confidence, practice, support, and also 10 demographic questions. So as you can see, the reliability scores show pretty strong consistency across all areas. So indicating that our faculty respondents responded in a reliable and predictable way that we can trust the patterns that we see here. The next slides. And so the main findings of this survey shows clear differences and statistically significant differences across how faculty think about accessibility and how confident they feel and what they actually do and how supported they are. So as you can see, the left blue bar, so this represents their perceptions. So faculty members' perceptions are still strong. It's just their confidence, practice, and support and lag behind. So this definitely highlights a statistically significant, meaningful gap between belief and implementation. So the next construct is perception. So we have 5 survey question groups asking faculty about how they perceive the value of accessibility. So this slide showed universal beliefs in accessibility across the board, and faculty, they strongly agree that accessibility supports student success, not just for students with disabilities, but for everyone, including both online and face-to-face STEM courses. So this shared belief is one of the strongest and most consistent findings in our data. And of course, then faculty members who chose voluntarily to complete this survey probably tend to believe in accessibility than others who have not participated in the survey. Okay, so this one, and actually, and even though they universally believe in accessibility, we find a statistical difference and by class size. The mid-sized class between 51 to 200 students class, we find that their belief in accessibility actually is lower than either the small class or the large class. The reason that we thought could be that either the small class size, and because of the class size is small, instructors have more time to really build the class with their students. And the large size class, they have instructors rely more on systems. They have online systems to build for their course, and also they have maybe teaching assistants to help them. So, but in between the mid-sized classes, the instructors, they just have little resources to make their classes accessible. So the second construct is the confidence. So we have included 3 survey question groups regarding the confidence. So even though faculty believe accessibility matters, and many, they are not fully confident in how to do it. And especially for the technical and the discipline-specific tasks, such as math notations and technical videos. And out of 5, faculty rated their confidence level to be around 3.2. And the rating is especially low with producing accessible complex graphics. So this points to a need for targeted practical support from maybe us, instructional designers, from their department. The next one, Katie, please. I'm going to transition back to you.
All right, I'll pick up with practice and challenges. So I mentioned earlier that the majority of faculty have started implementation, but they know that they need improvement. So in this chart here, that's the 55% of respondents. Only 17% said that their materials follow accessibility best practices and there's not room for improvement there. And then the remaining respondents either had not begun implementation yet or weren't familiar with accessibility practices. And the specific practices that we asked about really illustrate that faculty prioritize static documents over more complex or dynamic media or formats. So something like making images accessible and captioning videos, those were definitely lower than I expected. And tactile models, 3D prints were the least implemented. And so top challenges for them, once again, just like the national survey that we mentioned, the number one thing is time constraints. Second is lack of awareness of best practices, then lack of institutional resources, whether that's having tools to do the work or direct staff support. Then difficulty adapting materials, likely just the complexity of STEM content, lack of training opportunities, and lastly, lack of support. So I do have another poll question if you want to answer in the chat. So what are the top challenges to implementing accessibility that you and any faculty you've worked with face? If any of those answers, yeah, time for sure. Yeah, I think there's a reason it's the number one answer. Reaching folks who need it most. That's a really good point. And I've mentioned this when we've done this presentation before, but kind of marketing the training and support that we offer, making sure that faculty know they can attend live sessions or the knowledge base is here and covers all of this material. Yeah, really good points there. And I have included some quotes. So this is direct quotes from faculty speaking to faculty feeling like they don't have enough time or support. This first one, sadly, I simply need fewer classes to teach so that I have time to do this. Another variation of that, with 90% of my salary being research grant funded, I'm not able to allocate much time to making course material accessible. The third, I've never been offered support for creating accessible course materials. I feel on my own as an instructor. And then lastly, the instructor saying that checking accessibility is a TA task, meaning rather than an instructor's. I'm not sure which university that response came from, but that might be a training or a role discrepancy problem there, because Baiyun and I are both, I don't know where that idea came from.
Yeah, we definitely had a good laugh.
And I think I'm passing back to you for support, Baiyun.
Yes, so the last constructed support, we have 5 question groups. So here, this slide reflects how a supported faculty feel by their institutions, such as access to training, clear guidance, tools, and staff support. So while some resources are available, the many faculty, they still report that their institutions, they are ineffective at enforcing accessibility policies rather than creating a systematic approach to support them. The next slide. So when asked how they want to learn about accessibility, and faculty members, they clearly prefer flexible, practical options, and self-paced resources and concrete course examples rank the highest. And while the traditional workshops and webinars, they are much less appealing to our respondents. And this slide highlights a mismatch between how accessibility training is typically offered right now, that's in blue color, and how the faculty members, they actually want to learn in the orange strike colors. And so as you can see, and with course exemplars and synchronous workshops, so that's where we see the biggest gap. So this message is definitely clear that we should provide more course exemplars and fewer synchronous webinars and workshops. And when we ask them what would help you most, faculty and respondents, they wanted hands-on human support, dedicated staff members, and targeted trainings and access to the right tools consistently, and that those ranked higher than policies or mandates. And then they request more like a concierge service model rather than a DIY and self-service model. And that's both at Johns Hopkins at UCF. I think that's what we do, mostly DIY models for faculty members. And here we also have some examples of feedback from our faculty members to talk about their support. So it doesn't look like they are very impressed with the tools that they have been offered. And some of them, they have attended workshops, but didn't feel like they really learned too much. So the dominant theme here is just a desire for a dedicated expertise, people and tools, and also clear institutional policies and practices, so that could enable instructors to meet the accessibility needs without overwhelming their existing heavy workload. So here to sum up on our survey results. So the data suggests that STEM faculty are motivated by the pedagogical value of accessibility, but are overwhelmed by the time and the technical expertise required to implement it. So to bridge this gap, the findings indicate that number one, to build centralized accessibility support and shared workflows with faculty. And number two, to solve the STEM specific challenges. And there's definitely a need for discipline specific support, such as experts who can assist with latex and complex graphical conversions. And number three is a move away from long general trainings towards more streamlined, resource-based how-to guides and templates. So we'll leave you with a few practical resources that you can use after the session. So this include, we have the first link is the national report that we referenced early on in this presentation, the National Report on Faculty Accessibility Practice. And then the second one is the author guidelines for preparing accessible mathematical content. So this guideline was co-authored by one of our collaborators, Jeff Kwong. And also the third tool is a spreadsheet that we compiled together of different tools for accessible math content presentation. So with that, and if you have any questions, so feel free to let us know.
Yeah, and that's perfect timing because I was just about to give you the 5 minute hands up. So I actually do have a question. Did you have any, especially in the open responses, did you have any responses that really surprised you? Because when I was looking at those initial statistics, it seems like everybody said it was important, but I can't remember the fourth bar graph down was 75%, and I can't remember what that one was. But was there anybody who anything that surprised you or anybody who might have mentioned that accessibility wasn't their top concern in STEM fields?
I think in this survey, we see that the participants, they really showed a high value in how accessibility is important for students of both online and face-to-face classes in all different disciplines, including STEM. One of the reasons we probably is because just the people who voluntarily completed the survey, they care more about accessibility. We definitely, in the open-ended results, we do see that they felt like they don't know. I think in one of the results areas, what they would like to, what trainings were offered to them versus what they want. And there's like 20 some respondents say that they don't know what was offered. Oh, 12 actually, 12 participants, they said they don't know what was offered. And this is from UCF and from John Hopkins. So as instructional designers working for the institutions, we are pretty sure that we consistently provide trainings. And maybe it's just not the type that they prefer and not on the specific STEM and expertise that they need.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to thank you for this. The training mismatch, we have that as well, a little bit with our faculty. I noticed that a lot of them say they want self-paced, but then they want that human touch, that facilitator present. How are y'all kind of addressing that?
Yes, so that's a very good point. It definitely looks like it's not consistent. So they wanted the course exemplars, but at the same time, the number one demand that they have is faculty. It's human support that they want. They want human support to help them to do everything, to implement everything. But again, I think this is still and at a stage where many of our STEM faculty members, they don't really know exactly how to convert LaTeX, what are the different accessibility tools for math presentations, what tools are accessible, what tools are not accessible. So I think they're still confused. So I think it would be good for us to have the exemplars to show them. So I think that's important. But at the same time, and they really want somebody to help. So far, we have I don't think we have enough people to work with faculty members on converting this. But and to be honest, I think they are right. Teaching assistants are very helpful. So they know the course content. They are able to work with mathematics, physics. So we did have some teaching assistant or graduate student assistants helping faculty members convert handwritten formulas, visuals from those inaccessible format to be accessible and MathML and Canvas pages.
Thank you.
And I'll just add on, I think for your central question, Liz, like my group, still looking at these results and thinking, okay, well, how might we shift how we do things for faculty development? We always time that with the start of semesters because we know that's, keying up to that, that's when faculty are focused on it most. So that's still in process. But we are also really focused on getting together examples of all of this because that's the biggest thing. It's like, well, it's a gray box until they've seen it and exactly what we want. And running through a kind of course development process, we know that we need to enhance what IDs tell them specifically when they begin working with us. So this will be the expectation for all these different kinds of materials. And then just general training. We do kind of a cohort format. So making sure that that cohort outside of what an individual ID will explain to you and work with you on, that you get this information up front. So we're building up what we already had in place for sure.
Nice. Thank you.
Marilyn, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I'm in Tallahassee, and but my question is, and I may have missed it when we first started taking the break, and I went to the ladies' room. Okay, but did you create or develop your own training? And if you did, or did you use a third party type training? And if you did develop your own training, who did you use for a subject matter expert? Or what resources did you use?
At UCF, we don't use third-party trainings, and we do have created and the You Do It tool here at UCF. So that's available for all of our faculty members here. They can use that, and we have constant trainings on how to use the You Do It. But to be honest, I still think there's a big gap in terms of STEM accessibility where that's still a need here on campus.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Thank
same.
you.
My group at Hopkins, we develop the faculty development offerings that we provide. So it's the instructional designers, and we have another team that are instructional technologists who will do even more in detail how to use specific tools, how to do certain things in Canvas and how.
Okay. I just was wondering if you used somebody, on campus that specialized in accessibility, or yeah, or whether or not, like I said, the design team did it, and where did you pull your resources from? I mean, you just did basic research, or you have someone on your campus that leads that area, is what I'm asking. Yes.
Yeah, we do have an accessibility office on campus. They try to
Mm-hmm.
provide online digital accessibility support, but they have very limited resources. So at
Okay.
first, for the longest time, they only have one person. It's a one-person team that she serves as the director. And then she
Okay.
she started to have a couple of graduate students to help her. And
Okay,
then we also help as instructional designers directly
right.
working with faculty members.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
think it was a wonderful presentation, so thank you.
Yes, I
Thank
wanted
you.
to thank you, both of you, for such an amazing presentation and such a wonderful cross-collaborative research study. I love that you got similar insights that can be applicable to so many of us as we're trying to go into compliance. So thank you again so much.
And
Um,
actually, we met in TOPkit, I think 2 or 3 years ago, right? That's
did
when
you
we
really?
get
Yeah.
connected. Yes.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, if you have any additional questions, the breakout rooms are going to be closed in about 27 seconds, but we can meet out in the main room and continue any discussion.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again so much, everybody. Have a great one.
Rooms. Some of you I know like to jump in there and then go get your break. So however best you get into that room. But again, we'll have a break from 2:30 to 2:40, and then at 2:40, we'll start our next